Yes, it's the end of another year and yet another video talking about the greatest whatever of 2019. However, I think mine is a little bit different than most. Hey y'all, I'm the Geek Apprentice and here we are at the end of the month, year, and decade. What a time for dad jokes. See you next decade! I know I'm not the first to make a best whatever of this year video, and I certainly won't be the last. But here's the thing, I don't just have one fandom. I don't only theorize about movies. I don't only talk about games. I discuss a myriad of topics from a plethora of different fandoms in several different forms of media. So I wondered, what were my top 10 favorite moments from any fandom in any form of media from 2019. This list, as I just mentioned, is one of moments, so I could list anything from an actual release of a game or a movie, a trailer, or even just an announcement if I thought it was big enough. Also, ordering any list is difficult for me. Usually only the number one spot is the one that means something, but in this case I did try to put them in a specific order. Though I will say numbers 3 and 4 were pretty interchangeable. I'm sure I'll miss something, but that's because 2019 actually had a lot to offer. So let's get to it. Oh, by the way, this is obviously opinions, my personal preference. Again, shouldn't have to state that, should be obvious, but anyway, mine will be different from yours. Number 10 on this list is the E3 2019 trailer and announcement of the release date for Animal Crossing New Horizons. Now, with how much I adore Animal Crossing, you would think this would rank higher, except let's be honest, it was just a trailer and a release date, and most of what's on this list are actual releases, so just being fair. However, of course it was going to make the list in some way. I mean, it's Animal Crossing. While I was disappointed that this game was pushed back out of 2019 and into 2020, I think I speak for most dedicated Animal Crossing fans when I say I can be patient if that means we get an excellent game. I mean, we've waited this long, right? I may not even own Smash Bros. Ultimate, but just go back and look at my reaction to finding out BanjoKazooie was going to be DLC, and you'll know why this made the list. Now, how did this rank above Animal Crossing? For one thing, the BanjoKazooie DLC was not only announced this year, but also released. Also, while I may not play Smash, BanjoKazooie holds a very special place in my heart. I've been playing the game since I was 3 years old, and my heart will always melt when I hear the amazing themes by Grant Kirkhope and see the dynamic Bear and Bird duo waltz across my screen. This was a big step between Microsoft and Nintendo, and I think many fans like myself were excited to the point of joyous laughter and tears at this inclusion. Okay, Link's Awakening on the Switch. Oh my goodness. This was my first ever really big I did not see that coming reveal. This was one of the first Zelda games I ever played and the only one with these types of graphics that I actually really enjoyed and continued to play. To make it even better, they updated the graphics in the best and cutest way possible. I loved almost everything about this game. It was so good. Not only was Link's Awakening announced early this year, it released several months later. Link's Awakening for the Switch would also become the first game I ever actually finished because I have a bad habit of stopping before the final boss. Link's Awakening played on my nostalgia, but it also did a dynamite job with its Switch upgrade. Naturally, it was going to be on this list. Stepping away from video games for a moment, number 7 is going to see Spider-Man Far From Home. I've never been a huge fan of Spider-Man movies in general, maybe that's because they weren't done by the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but the fact that it was the MCU and it was Tom Holland's version, which I love his version of Spider-Man, I absolutely adore this one and thought it was super well done. The character growth we see in Peter is both satisfying and heartbreaking. Not to mention, seeing him begin the journey of following Tony's legacy but in his own way was equally touching. Oh, I love Led Zeppelin! Oh, Peter. Even I know that's not Led Zeppelin. It's obviously Kiss. While this next one might come with some backlash, I don't care because it's my opinions anyway. Pokemon Sword and Shield, or just Shield in my case, takes number 6 on this list. I'm gonna have a full review coming soon, but I should point out 2 things. 1, my experience with main series Pokemon games is pretty limited other than the fact that I know I hate random encounters. And 2, I am not a fan of turn-based RPGs at all. Yet, I was able to dive into this game head on and absolutely love it. Within 3 weeks of owning the game, I had already poured in well over 60 hours into it. I know this game was met with heavy criticism, and sure, the game isn't perfect, but after playing through it, I think a lot of it is truly unfounded and frankly just whiny. Overall, the game is wonderful, and from what I understand, took a few good steps in the right direction, like with the wild area. An area which actually allowed me further interaction with viewers on my streams, which was super fun and cool. Anyway, while I heavily debated getting this game for a while, I'm really glad I did because I've enjoyed every second of it. My number 5 favorite moment of 2019 was learning that there was going to be a prequel to the Hunger Games trilogy written by Suzanne Collins herself, coming in May of 2020. If you know my history with this series, I don't need to say much. If you don't, then just check out my Hunger Games playlist in the description below. I did not see this coming, but I am beyond excited because I trust Suzanne Collins is not going to just add on just to add on. It's been so long and she's not using main characters that we know, except maybe Snow and Mags might be in it. So the fact that she's making a prequel says, hey, there's something else I need to tell you guys, because there were some very strong messages in the trilogy that I only started to get once I was an adult. And the name is so intriguing, The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. Oh, I'm so excited. When the trailer for Frozen 2 dropped earlier this year, I would have never thought it would make the list of my top 10 favorite moments of 2019, let alone the top 5. Number 4 even. But hey, I'm eating my words, it was phenomenal. Yes, I said phenomenal. Much like with Ralph Breaks the Internet and How to Train Your Dragon The Hidden World, this film was aimed at its original audience, growing up with them and playing at themes that would speak to them most. While those audience members are probably roughly 18, as a 24-year-old, it actually spoke to me quite a bit. Elsa's even my age in this film. Both Anna and Elsa's respective journeys in this movie hit me in certain ways that were quite intense actually. This sequel was incredibly well done, and I would highly recommend it to anyone around my age who even remotely enjoyed the first installment. While that last one was definitely competing for the number 3 spot, it just couldn't quite compare to learning that we are getting a sequel in a full theatrical trailer form to one of my favorite games of all time, Breath of the Wild. I was adamant Breath of the Wild was not going to get a sequel, nor would we even get some sort of new Zelda game announcement at E3. I was wrong on both accounts, and I'm very happy about it. Once the initial shock wore off and it began to settle on me that we were actually getting a sequel to one of my favorite games ever on a grander and darker scale, I was reduced to a puddle of happy tears. While this was only an announcement and we haven't received any more news since, it still had me shaken enough and happy enough that it made the number 3 spot on this list. Sometimes there are films that they rock your world so strongly you can't bring yourself to ever really watch them again. You loved it, thought it was amazing, but it was a roller coaster of emotions, and as incredible as it was, you just can't bring yourself to experience that again. One of those films taking the number 2 spot on this list of favorite moments of 2019 is the Avengers Endgame. What an ending to this phase. Yes, I know the Spiderman film was technically the ending. Shush. I knew the story would wreck me, but jeez. And they managed to make the deaths mean something. Again, something that doesn't always happen in the MCU. I simultaneously am very happy about that and hate it too. I'm so glad that when I saw this in theaters, I saw it with friends, particularly Amelia. Because she's emotional like me, I felt comfortable loudly crying pretty much the entire movie. Don't know how the rest of the theater felt, but she and I were comfortable. I say a roller coaster of emotions, but let's be honest, it's more like a valley of tears. Yet, and this doesn't always happen with the MCU, I understand each moment's purpose, every death that occurred. I understood why it was almost necessary to the plot. I hate that it's true, but it is. I've been following the MCU ever since the first Avengers came out. Yes, I was late, but I eventually got on and I'm very happy about it. And what a crazy ride it has been since. Now let me quickly go over a few honorable mentions. Alright, what could possibly top Endgame? There's only one other movie that had the same effect on me this year, though I did manage to make myself go see it 3 times total. Only one movie which tore my heart to pieces but put it back together again because it was the right direction, the perfect theme, perfect music, and the deserved ending to a beloved franchise. You probably already guessed it. How to Train Your Dragon: The Hidden World. I know we technically got that meh short recently, but since Hidden World actually contains a scene that takes place after that, canonically speaking, I still consider it the end. Because it is. You know what's crazy? I didn't even grow up with the series. I could have, but I ignored it. I only watched the first film back in January of this year and immediately became addicted and watched absolutely everything How to Train Your Dragon leading up to February when I could finally see the final film. The entirety of the story, Hiccup and Toothless's journey, I can't really put into words what it means to me, especially Hidden World. It was the ending that was needed, the ending that made sense, the ending that was the right thing to do, and most of all, the ending that we deserved. If you actually understand the themes and messages following Hiccup's character arc, then you know that Hidden World did what it needed to do and then some. It hurt, yes, but that's part of the message. And of course the music. I talk about it all the time, how powerful it is, and John Powell, Yonsei, just perfection. I cannot hear that specific score, Once There Were Dragons, and not fall to pieces. There was absolutely no way anything this year could beat this moment. The most powerful, emotional, well done, and my personal favorite moment of 2019, How to Train Your Dragon: The Hidden World. Yep, those were my top 10 moments of 2019, but what were yours? Tell me about them. Were any of them similar to mine? Do you have completely different ones? I'd love to hear about them. If you enjoyed this video, maybe consider checking out other content of mine and possibly subscribing if you want to. Anyway, that's all for today. Happy New Year and thank you for watching.